Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Working Class Podcast, the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, where you get championship-winning advice at a low, low price. I'm DJ.
And I'm John Soroyce.
And today we are here to talk about wide receiver rankings. But first, we're going to introduce a new segment into the show. I like that. And we're going to talk news and notes, and we're going to start doing that since we are recording in a more timely manner. Some of our other episodes we recorded and posted them a couple days later or a few days later. And now we're recording and posting them the next morning or that very day, depending on when we record. So now our news and notes would be timely and make sense. So we're going to kick it off with Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz, John, is making it rain. Just signed a 4-year, $128 million extension. $108 million guaranteed. I believe that's a record. What do you think? Money well spent?
I'm not 100% sold.
Well, he did kind of lead them to a Super Bowl win, kind of. I know Nick Foles, finished the job.
He did finish the job.
Yeah.
But, the kid's talented. Very, very, very talented.
Yeah, he is.
He's their future, so obviously to pay him that money, they believe in him.
Yeah, and they built around him, too. I mean, we talked last week during the QB rankings, last week, about the weapons that he has and that they built a lot of talent around him. And I think that extension means that obviously they truly believe in him, and I honestly don't think when healthy he's given them any reason to feel otherwise. So well deserved, Carson Wentz. Congratulations on your big fat payday. What about Rashad Penny? You hear anything about him? I will tell you, he dropped significant weight coming into camp. Have you not heard that?
Yeah, but the question is, can he unthrone Chris Carson?
Well, I think he can, because I know last year conditioning was a problem, and I think that probably kept him at bay, so to speak, when he was nipping at the heels or trying to nip at the heels at Chris Carson.
He did have that 50-yard run from side to line.
He did have one big play, but obviously Carson ran away with the starting job last year. But I think you look at a guy like Mr. Pete Carroll, he doesn't care who you are. If you're performing better, he's going to put you on the field.
You'll ride the hot hand. He really will.
And I think if he's dropped weight, I mean, all indication is that he's impressed in spring workouts, and Carson's still nursing a knee injury, so Carson can't really defend himself right now, if you think of it in that way, and Rashad Penny could run away with it.
It's a chance for Penny.
No pun intended.
It's a chance for Penny to actually grab a hold of reins. I think he can go out there if he shows any glimpse of what he did last year, and that was actually at obviously more weight.
Yeah.
But if he did anything he did in college, I mean, who amasses 2,000 rushing yards?
Yeah, I mean, he was up at 230 pounds last year, I think, and also Aaron Jones recently worked on his conditioning as well. I think those guys are starting to take things a little bit more seriously and taking over the lead back roles in their respective teams. I like Rashad Penny a lot this year. His ADP is pretty favorable as far as his price is concerned. So hopefully he's impressing the coaches, and I think he's a better talent than Chris Carson. I'd love to see him take over that job. Bilal Powell, Jets re-signed him. Excited, are you?
No.
Okay, me either.
Bilal Powell will always be a backup, in my opinion. Every chance he has had to take the ball or take over as the starter.
He's not even a backup. He's a change of pace guy. Everybody had Bilal Powell on their bench, hoping for him to take the lead role over the last several years, and it never happened. Even when guys got hurt, it never happened.
Unless it is a favorable matchup, is at best a bye-week fill-in. At best.
He might catch 3 passes a game, and that's he reminds me of Theo Riddick, which isn't much.
And the sad part is he'll blow up that 1 week you don't play him. And it's
right.
The worst matchup. He'll be going against the number 1 defense or something and blow up.
But realistically, they have Bell, Elijah McGuire, Ty Montgomery, Trenton Cannon, and all of those guys kind of do the same thing. But you get that doofus Adam Gase as the head coach there. I mean, that's a guy that stashed Kenyon Drake on the bench while he was running a 400-year-old Frank Gore into the ground. So anything can happen, but I don't think Powell's going to be very relevant. And he may not even make the team.
Well, I think he makes the team. I just don't think... I mean, it depends how the other ones step up to the plate. I mean, I think Bell's going to run away with the job.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has shed some weight. I guess he ballooned up, or rumors
I hope
say.
he has.
I don't know if it was his rap career taking off.
I don't know.
I don't know. Too many
Biggie Smalls. Is that his new nickname?
But I know he's shed some weight. He's ready to go. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of him on Insta media. Social media, I mean. He's ready to go. He's committed. He has shown up for camp. Interested to see what he does there. I really am.
Yeah, but Bilal Powell shouldn't really be a factor. Some really good news. Cam Newton. I really am hanging around you too much. Cam Newton cleared to throw at minicamp. He's been rehabbing his shoulder all off season, and it limited him big time in the second half of the year last year. He was not good in the second half of the year, and I was getting nervous, John, that we had another Andrew Luck situation where we weren't sure, and then he misses the whole season. But it's good to know that's not the case.
The injury timeline on him, I know they had said that they didn't think he was going to be throwing until later on in the summer. So the fact that they figured about August, I think it was September last time, they kind of made the gauge on where he was going to start throwing again. And they were worried about if he was going to be ready for the season. So if he's throwing this early, that's a good sign.
No, that's great.
We'll know ahead of time where he stands for value.
And technically, I don't know if he's throwing yet, but he is cleared to throw. So,
but obviously, they had some concerns. They wouldn't have drafted Will Grier if they didn't.
Yep, I don't disagree with you. I'm not as high on Grier as you are, but I guess that's a different conversation for another time. DeAndre Hopkins, this was interesting. I mean, because obviously Hopkins had an excellent year. He said he played with more pain last season than he has at any point in his career. And, quote, last year was tough, not just physically but mentally. It's the most banged up I've ever been playing football.
That's concerning.
Well, is it? Or does it speak to his toughness? I mean, that the guy was banged up.
A little bit of both, but at the same time, if he's mentally burned out, is this going to be the year he fizzles?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't think so either. But
at all.
You have that what if when you hear news like that.
I think, but I think if it was a concern, I don't think he'd be talking about it. You know what I mean?
You also got to look from the mental point of view. All the injuries they had last year, he had to carry that team at the end.
Oh, yeah.
He had to carry the team. Well,
and his buddies, Will Fuller and Kiki QT, as good as they are, or Kiki, do you love me, as you call him. I like that one. Those guys, they never play at the same time. So obviously DeAndre had to shoulder a lot of the load and did a great job with that. So what I take away from this is this guy going to start flying around like Superman when he's 100% healthy? We've seen he's the number one receiver when he's hurt all year.
He didn't drop the ball.
No, and he didn't even drop the ball.
He didn't drop the ball. With all that coverage, the circus catches through the leg flip, I mean...
Yeah. I might be calling Jake for a trade pretty soon.
I mean, honestly, if I had to take...
Jake, if you're listening, I'm suddenly interested.
A number one receiver is Hopkins. I mean, I have Devontae Adams, and I love him.
Yeah.
But
and Adams,
Hopkins,
we're going to talk about receivers, but Adams could end up being the number one. But if Hopkins is healthy, and that's how he played when he was hurt, that's scary. That's the only word that comes to my mind is scary. Speaking of scary, and probably not the best segue, but some scary stuff going on earlier in the year with Tyreek Hill. News coming out, there is no longer an active investigation, but that doesn't mean charges are dropped. So, I heard that and I said, okay, well, maybe he's innocent. That sounds like innocent to me, but authorities did say if they receive additional credible evidence, they could reopen the case, similar to when the disturbing audio conversation between Hill and his girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is, was released earlier in the year, and they kind of started kicking the tires a little bit more. But as of right now, they don't have enough evidence to say that they need to pursue charges. He's likely to return to the team before the start of training camp. And we don't have him ranked today, spoiler alert, because of all of this stuff that's going on. But talk to me, John, about what are you doing with Tyreek Hill now? What are you doing if you find out? What's your threshold for him being a top 3-4 round pick? Is it 3 games? Is it 6 games? Like, where do you stand on that?
What, how many games I think he's going to be suspended?
Not necessarily, like, what's your threshold as far as, if he's suspended 6 games, I'm not touching him. Is it 3 games? Like, where do you stand on that?
My threshold is 3 games, I think, personally. Yeah. Honestly, he just changed the whole draft.
What do you think he'll be suspended?
My honest opinion, 3 games.
See, I disagree with you there, and I'll tell you why. Because one of my favorite players, Ezekiel Elliott, was in a similar situation. But actually, Zeke never got charged. The female that accused him was discredited. And the person from the NFL that did the investigation advised that he not be suspended at all. And Goodell gave him 6 games. So Hill, there's a lot more evidence with Hill. Hill's got more of a history. And I don't know where the investigation is at this point. But how could it be any less than 6 games unless, of course, Goodell is just unethical and likes certain players better than other players? So which side of it is it? You know what I mean?
I think he has favoritism. I really do. And
I think you're right.
I think he doesn't personally like Zeke. That's my opinion.
I think you're right about that, too, yeah.
And I think Hill's going to get a slap on the wrist for this. I think 3 games. I really do.
The gut tells me 3 games.
Or he's going to be handed 6. And then he'll be able to come back in 3.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you, and sadly, I don't. I think if things were on the up and up, I mean, if you look at Hill's situation, it's much more egregious than Zeke. Zeke, by all rights, didn't do anything. There was never anything proven that he did anything based on what they were investigating. And there's a lot more stuff on the triple beam tipping in the direction that Tyreek did do something potentially. So we'll see how it shakes out. Definitely something we need to talk about. If Tyreek Hill didn't do this and he's not suspended or suspended 1 game, he's a second round pick all day long. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I do.
Anything else on Tyreek that you're thinking in terms of where he might land?
Oh, Tyreek, that's just going to change the value for the whole team. I think, like we had said in the last podcast with quarterbacks, I had Mahomes ranked lower because of Tyreek. Now, if you bring back Tyreek,
that's true, too. That's a great point. Yeah. Yep.
And I just traded him. Dope!
Yeah, you did. But it also helps Kelsey, too. I mean, it helps the whole darn team.
It helps the whole offense because now Damian Williams, I know we were worried about teams possibly stacking him. Now it's going to open up him to get free.
Yeah.
Now, Hill's also going to take pressure off of Kelsey. Hill's going to take pressure off of Demarcus Robinson. I mean, whoever's out there.
Yep.
Sammy Watkins. It just gave Mahomes more open field than ever. Let's be honest. Hill stretches the field.
Yeah.
Which opens up everything. So now Mahomes' numbers, you're going from a floor of 30 minimum touchdowns
to 50.
Maybe, 50 again.
It's probably a ceiling. Yeah.
He could repeat. Now his status. Obviously he's the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
and depending on where your scoring settings were. Hill was the number 2 or 3 wide receiver last year.
So
I mean, that's like saying, Saquon Barkley's going to miss. I can see where
he's going to be ranked lower. Hill will be ranked lower because people that doubt of suspension until they hear otherwise.
And the key thing when I read this news and when I saw this news from Roto World, by the way, was at this time, unless further evidence comes out. So he's not out of the woods at all. No,
but it's something. If you guys are smart. I don't know if you're in a keeper league, if you're in a dynasty league, if he has been dropped. And I'm telling you now.
I traded him in dynasty because I just didn't want to deal with the headache.
Here is your little secret. If he is sitting on waivers, pick him up today.
You should have done that 2 days ago when this news came out. Yeah.
And here's the thing. What's the worst thing? You sit on him. He's a bench player for you at this point. If
it's an ethical thing, I get it.
I get it if it's ethical. But if
I'll never own Adrian Peterson.
If it's not ethical, then what do? You pick him up. He gets cleared. Boom.
Yeah.
You just ended up with a wide receiver 1 on your team for nothing.
So in our, and we'll move on after this, but in our keeper league situation, I have traded up to get the 1st overall pick and the 3rd overall pick. Now all of a sudden, because keepers have been selected already, and he's back in the pool now. If he's cleared and he's good to go, I just really stacked my team up with a guy that basically is a 5th round pick after 4 keepers. So a lot to talk about with Tyreek Hill. We won't go too further into it.
And just to let you guys know, like DJ had said, he's not included in rankings because we made these rankings
right. We made these beforehand, and this literally just came out a day or 2 ago. And you know what? It's still fuzzy enough to where I don't know if I would put him in the rankings.
We're not going to count him at this point,
right?
But
I need to wait longer and see what's going on. But obviously, the tide could shift significantly with this news. So, are you ready to get into some wide receiver rankings?
With that said, let's go.
All right, number one, wide receiver. Who'd you have number one? You had Devontae Adams. I had DeAndre Hopkins, and ECR had DeAndre Hopkins as well. 115 receptions, 1,572 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Talk to me about DeAndre, John.
DeAndre Hopkins, gold. That's all I'm going to say, gold.
There's gold in our hills in Texas.
Are
there hills in Texas?
The guy doesn't drop passes, like I said before.
No.
He catches everything thrown to him and more.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm mistaken. You did have DeAndre Hopkins ranked number one.
Yes, because I had him last year in one of our leagues.
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah, the
man is gold.
He's unbelievable. I think he had, I get a little nervous with Hopkins a couple of years ago because he had that really bad year 2 years ago.
Yeah, and look who his quarterback was.
He had a great year his rookie year. I couldn't even tell you who his quarterback was that year.
Brock Osweiler.
It was Osweiler. Yeah, that guy is trash. Brock Lesnar, he is not.
F5.
Although that would be cool. I'd like to see Brock Lesnar as a NFL quarterback, just F5ing guys left and right.
Go to sack the quarterback, F5.
Yeah, just choke him out. Anyway, good luck sacking that guy. But yeah, no, Hopkins had that one bad year, so I kind of got a little nervous about him. But man, has he proven me wrong ever since. Last 2 years, he's been a fantasy stud. I think he might have been number one 2 years straight. I could be wrong. But you got any numbers on him that you're interested in talking about?
Yeah, here's some good numbers on him. And when you start getting at the elite level, which Hopkins is, you got to, turn your head on some stuff. So he's got one of the easier schedules. He's got the 11th.
11th
easiest schedule.
Yeah, he does.
Which, to me, you start playing guys like him, they're kind of matchup proof. If you sit DeAndre Hopkins, you deserve to lose.
I don't think anybody's sitting him.
Automatic start.
Yeah.
I don't care what the matchup is.
Yeah,
but,
even in the playoffs, we've talked about that.
The guy had 115 receptions for 1,572 receiving yards.
Yeah,
11 TDs with no drops. That's disgusting. He had 163 targets.
The targets are crazy, and
no, they're not crazy. And you would think that in your head.
All right, I'm listening.
Look at the underlying stats. The year before, 174 targets.
Yeah.
The year before that little dip, 151. But this is the one that's going to make your mouth drop. 2015, 192 targets.
Yeah.
He is a target monster.
Oh, he is. But I mean, just when I say that, it's just incredible that you have a guy on a team that has Will Fuller, on a team that has Kiki QT. They don't really have a tight end to speak of, but I mean, those are good players, and no, granted, they're not on the field at the same time a whole heck of a lot. But I mean, those are guys that are gonna siphon targets, and he's still getting targeted that much because he's that flippin' good. I mean, the year he had Tom Savage and Randy Savage and Tom Bosley and all these guys that were.
What are you gonna do, bro? Oh, actually, that's
Hogan. Anyway,
wrong wrestler.
Yeah,
sorry, my apologies.
Snap into it, man. But anyway, he was still huge that year, and those guys are scrubs, dude. Absolute scrubs. So Hopkins is the type of guy that I like. We're gonna talk about number two, and that guy his success might be tied to his quarterback. Hopkins' success is tied to Hopkins, and you know what you're getting. And that's the only receiver on this list that I would even consider drafting in the first round over a stud back. The only one, because he's that freaking good.
Oh, his numbers
and he's
disgusting.
fun to watch.
What's his floor? 15 in a PPR?
Yeah,
that's his floor.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I only got you 7 catches for 80 yards. That's his floor, guys.
He's awesome. And like I said, he's fun to watch. The whole team is. And I think, you look at Hopkins, as long as he's healthy, Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, if both of those guys are healthy.
He's a first rounder.
Yeah, he adds to Watson's floor as well.
Yeah, and people do forget they played at Clemson together. Granted, Watson, I believe, was a freshman then, but they still did play at Clemson together.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the system, so
look at his worst year, and we'll move on. Look at his worst year. 78 receptions was his worst year. He was targeted 151 times.
That's
so what
right.
does that tell you? Those are uncatchable passes. That's what tells you.
Yeah,
that's what
they
that
were
tells
bad
you.
throws.
Yeah. So love him. He had 4 touchdowns that year. That was that meltdown year, 2016.
Yeah, and the next year, whoever took him got the
He had
bargain of the
13
year.
touchdowns, 11 in 2015. In his first couple of years were a little low, but I mean, what else can be said? So let's move on to number 2. And number 2 is Davante Adams.
Love him.
And I have Davante Adams ranked number 2.
Number 2.
And also John has. I mean, this is the first time. I think the first
I
2
know.
have been the same.
I know.
So Davante Adams last year, 111 receptions, 1,386 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Dude is a touchdown scoring machine. I don't have the stats right in front of me. You might. I think he was on the high end of touchdowns the year before as well. His career started a little rough. It almost started like Devontae Parker's career.
I wouldn't say that it started off rough. He had to compete.
Yeah.
Green Bay is kind of like Pittsburgh. They've always had talented receivers. Jordy Nelson. I mean, Randall Cobb when in his prime.
Yep.
So they've kind of expanded there, and that's not even Greg Jennings is counting either.
But Hopkins, like the good thing about Adams. Sorry.
But you guys got to remember, Adams is just getting started. He was never the number one till like the official number one till last year.
And who loves him? Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, Aaron
loves
Rodgers
this guy.
And the news that just came out about him, he's supposed to even get even more targets.
Yeah. How many targets did he get? 169 targets.
Yes, he had an
last
awful
year.
169 targets.
13. Yeah, I mean,
111 receptions. Yards were a little down.
12.5 yards per target, which is really
guys,
good.
take this into perspective here. A team that was I don't know if they were tanking, but they were playing pretty bad. And their give a damn was broke.
By the way, he missed a game last year. He only played 15 games.
Yeah, and he had 13 touchdowns.
The year before that, he had 10 touchdowns. He only played 14 games. The year before that, he had 12 touchdowns. This dude has been double-digit touchdowns 3 years straight.
And last year was the debacle, too. With McCarthy, them trying to get McCarthy out. So think
The
about
what?
that.
The debacle?
Yeah.
You mean the debacle?
Debacle. See what happens when you're around him? But basically, things broke down last year. And even with the things breaking down the way they did, double-digit touchdowns.
So is that like debacle and diabolical mixed together?
Yeah, it's like Chewbacca.
So McCarthy's diabolical and he had a debacle. So I get what you're saying there, man. I dig.
So basically, the numbers he's putting up with everything that was going on there is just insane. Now you take a team, I hope that cares more involved, different offense, different reigns. I think they're going to target him just as much, if not even more, like it says.
Yeah, I like their receiving core. I think it's underrated, as I've said before. Jimmy Graham's touchdown number was crazy low last year, so he's probably going to see some positive regression there, which I think would eat from Davante more than anybody else. But let's face it, Geronimo Allison is a steady receiver, and MVS and Equanimeous St. Brown have talent, but Davante's his guy. Rodgers always hyper targets a guy, right?
Yeah.
It was Jordy Nelson. Now it's Davante Adams.
And I'm not buying this 27th easiest schedule. Here's the thing. The guy faced Jalen Ramsey last year, and no problem with him.
Yeah.
He faced Chicago's defense twice. No problem.
There might be games, and I'm honestly, John, not looking at his schedule to know who he's playing week to week. But there's going to be games where he might face a shutdown corner, and he might not perform. But I don't think that's the case, man. Because when I look at that dude, Aaron Rodgers, hyper targets his number one receiver.
So, okay, Chicago was an elite defense last year. Would you say that?
Oh,
elite
absolutely.
defense all around.
Yep.
Okay, first game of the year. First game nobody ever counts because why? It's first game. Don't know what to expect from defense.
So he must have done poorly.
No, he had eight catches for 88 yards and a TD.
That's an excellent game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
that's a 20-point game.
Then
all
after
day.
a team has been together all the year,
including Chicago,
he plays Chicago week 15 again, which was playoff bound.
John's literally pounding the table over this.
They were already clinched the playoffs, Chicago. 13 catches for 119
and that
yards.
is against an elite defense. And what did it? 13 catches. Pepper that dude with targets. Yep. That's what Rodgers does. And that's the thing with Hopkins too, is their baseline is huge. 169, 170 targets. These guys have a huge baseline. That's not gonna change. Those aren't outlier scenarios. those things consistently happen year after year. Devontae Adams, easy number 2, could be number 1 by the end of the year. Would you agree?
Oh, easily. He could possibly. I mean, the sky's the limit on number 1 and number 2. Hopkins and Adams are interchangeable. It's all going to depend on how the game flow goes, and basically, is what happens. I mean, it can go either way, or we could be totally surprised by the next one too.
The next guy doesn't ever surprise me because when you talk about consistency, it's Julio Jones, expert consensus ranked number 3. I have Julio ranked at 3. John, you're a little lower on him at 5, and I know. And again, I never ever factor in injuries, and actually Julio's been healthy for a little while. And John sometimes does, so I don't know if that's the difference maker for you.
DJ has known me forever. Julio is one of my favorite players, and I'm not dissing him by ranking him 5.
Yeah.
The reason I diss him is we can pull up his stats for receiving touchdowns. That's what hurts him.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. So just a quick buzz through on his numbers last year. 113 receptions, excellent. 1,676 yards. Pretty sure it led the league in receiving yards. 8 touchdowns. My problem with 8 touchdowns, that's good. That's not bad. That's his second highest career touchdown grabs.
He's never had double-digit
That's
touchdowns.
the problem.
Boom.
And that was and that wasn't until I don't think until after halfway through the season. He went a good 6, 7, 8 weeks without catching a touchdown last year. And Julio Jones fans were losing their minds. So hopefully with Turd Cutter rolling in there, it brings him back to form a little bit. That loser Dirt Cutter. But, that concerns me. He doesn't catch touchdowns a lot. How many years has he been in the league? 6, 7? When 8 touchdowns?
6.
When 8 touchdowns is his highest. His second highest, I should say.
He averages 5 touchdowns a year, basically. Maybe like 5.5.
And what's his targets? Do you have his targets for last year?
Targets were insane. It was 170. But
so there you go. Insane amount of targets, 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
too low. Too low. And that's why he's at 3 for me.
Yeah, and that's why I got him at 5.
I just think the thing with
his ceiling's 8. His ceiling's 8.
Yeah, what's his
floor?
I thought he had higher than 8.
8.
So the 2 years were.
That's
8.
why I got him ranked 5th.
So that's his high. Yeah. So I mean, I love Julio Jones, another guy that gets hyper targeted. I'm not worried about Calvin Ridley. He's a boomer bust guy. I'm not worried about him.
He go boom boom this year. I'm taking him.
I'm not worried about Austin Hooper. Hanging
with Austin Hooper.
I'm not worried about Mohamed Sanu. Mo Sanu's not scaring me. It's the Julio Jones show all day long. And you said yourself last week, or we kind of said together, the year that Matt Ryan won the MVP, maybe they should have given it to Julio because he's the foundation for Matt Ryan's success. He's a foundation of that offense. He's not going anywhere. I got him ranked at 3. You're a little lower than that, but I think we both love Julio Jones.
Oh, love him. If he can turn his touchdowns upside up, but you got to remember it's been the reins have changed. His best year was with Shanahan, I believe.
Was it? I don't know that for sure. I'll take your word for it.
But that's the thing is, I mean, you're going through another offense coordinator. So
yeah, but at least it's somebody they're familiar with. I mean, they've dealt with.
Yeah, no, that does help. So I mean, I don't think he's going to go in there and change the whole dynamic.
He's probably going to bring in. He's not a very creative mind, obviously, based on his time in Tampa. He's probably going to bring in the same offense he had before. It's probably going to be a pretty cookie cutter scenario. So I don't think there's going to be much of a learning curve. And it's Julio Jones. It doesn't matter what offense you bring in there.
I mean, Turd Cutter, look how good, what's his name was over there? Mike Evans.
Mike Evans
so Julio's going to flourish.
Yep, definitely. And Julio's a better player than Evans. So Michael Thomas at number 4, expert consensus rank, has him at 4, of course.
I still think he looks like Humpty.
Oh, gosh. Excuse me. Number 4... Odell Beckham. I'm sorry, I skipped Odell. This is going to be fun. I'm going to really actually enjoy this one. I have Michael Thomas ranked 4th. John, you have Odell ranked 8th, and I have him ranked 6th. So I'm a couple off of ECR here. You're way off, and I don't blame you. So
I'm not sold on Odell.
So just to talk about Odell Beckham, Odell Beckham, from a talent standpoint, is probably the best receiver in the game. And I don't know that a lot of people would disagree with that. The problem with Odell Beckham is he's what my dad used to call a head case. Odell is going to play hard when he feels like playing hard. Odell is... I just want to tell you guys that have been listening the whole time, John has this really bad habit of sticking his phone in my face and completely sabotaging the show.
No.
So can you guys tweet at him or send him messages on Facebook to tell him to stop? It's very trying to keep John on the leash. I got to tell you. Put the phone away.
It is already away.
So moving on.
Problem is he can't do two things.
So
at once.
John is the Odell Beckham of fantasy football podcast. He's off the chain. He's unpredictable, and I think that concerns me for him. I would not want to spend the draft capital that I would have to spend to get a guy like Beckham, who I'm sorry, but I think he kind of, I'm not going to say he fakes injuries, but he might embellish them. I don't think he plays when things aren't going well. And he's going to be on a new offense. Eli Manning's going to hyper-target him. I don't know that that's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. John, are you done with your phone and you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, the biggest thing, it's not even the chemistry with Odell Beckham. I know some people have some concern with that. But do we forget that Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, and Odell Beckham worked out with each other last summer? So it's not the chemistry I'm worried about. It's the amount of talent in that team.
Yeah, definitely.
If Odell Beckham is smart, I think what he should do personally is play as a team. Don't let his temper get in the way like it has in the past. And
that's easier said than done, though.
No, I get that. But if
that's the Terrell Owens effect.
Truly wants to win, then he will not care about his stat lines. And I think that's always been is what's going to hold him back here. Is if he acts the player he's intending to be, then they will do good.
But they've made the playoffs with him. They had chances to win with him, and he went out and got smashed on a boat. And the team wasn't ready to play because of that. No, but he was part of that culture, and I think you would agree he was probably a big part of that.
The players were part of that culture.
Yeah, and now he's on a different team, and I don't know. I like Odell as a player, but he is just...
He's a gamble.
Dynamite. You never know when it's going to go off, and I was talking to Jake in our league. I'm like, you need to trade that guy because there's another guy that has Mixon. He wants Odell. I'm like, dude, do that all day long because Mixon's probably going to be a stud RB this year, and Odell's probably going to sit 5-6 games because he's pouting and he doesn't want to play because Cleveland's probably not going to be as good as everybody thinks they are. So that's just my take on Odell. I'm probably biased, though, right?
No, I don't think so because he doesn't have... Okay, first of all, he doesn't have a strength of schedule for him is 23. That's not really jumping out at me. And that's not even the concern.
I think the Browns, though, dude. I think the Browns have the third hardest schedule this year. I don't know how the heck that happened, but
the concern is this. Looking at his stats, okay, it's not the touchdowns. He has regressed, but that's injury. We know that.
Yeah.
It's also the Giants. Sorry, I don't mean to take a stab there, but they've been awful the last 2 years.
They have, but he's still getting targeted.
Yeah, no. But
a lot. What was his target count last year?
124.
124, and he missed a significant amount of games.
He missed 4.
That's a significant amount in a fantasy season. I mean, that's a quarter of your season.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but the games... Okay, so his rookie year, 12 games, 1,300 yards.
Yeah.
So the difference is he was trying to make an impact in the league. Here, he wanted that. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
I just think his ceiling is capped because he's a head case.
My honest opinion, okay, he got 124 targets last year. He averaged about 140 to 160 when in his prime.
Yeah.
I'm not going to count 2017. That was bad injury. He missed basically the whole year.
Yeah.
But you start looking at his other numbers, his receptions are 90 to 100. 101 was his best season.
Yep.
Only once. That's it.
Yep.
Honestly, with the weapons they have in Cleveland, I say an 85 to 90.
It could be.
Tops.
I completely agree with you. Again, you have him at 8. I have him at 6. Neither of us have him at 4. Expert consensus does. So maybe we'll be proven wrong on that. But you can't just look at talent and situation. You have to look at the player and what type of a person and individual that they are. And Odell's got a lot of things to work on in terms of that. Sky's the limit. Probably the best receiver, in terms of ability in the league. But his head is going to hold him back. And that's unfortunate. So number 5 expert consensus ranking is a guy I love, Michael Thomas. I have him at 4, and John, you have him at 3. So let's talk about him. He had 125 receptions, another guy that gets hyper-targeted, 1,405 yards and 9 touchdowns. Good touchdown count there as well. Like to see that a little bit higher. But Breeze likes him, and I don't think they've made any changes. I'm sorry, Jared Cook, I don't think is going to take too many targets away from him. What do you think about, you love him, you have him on your team, or did, Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas, come on. He started off as a rookie with he just missed 100 receptions as a rookie. And he missed a game. So he might have had 100 receptions. So he had 92 his rookie year. The next 2 seasons, so 2017, 104 receptions. 2018, 125. His career receptions is 321 in the first 3 years. Hello, guys.
That's crazy.
That's like literally 106 receptions average.
Yeah. His touchdown count's not as much as we would probably like, and I'm guessing you probably have the numbers in front of you, but
it's about 6 a year on average. He had that one bad year.
I'd like to see more there.
Yeah, but the thing is, his targets, considering compared to Hopkins or Adams, are actually lower. It's like 150, one cap.
But he doesn't have the hands Hopkins has, but Drew Brees has a really good chemistry with him.
What's scary,
and I think he catches shorter passes too.
What intrigued me more than anything, and it's not going to show it here, you would have to watch the game.
And that's what we like to talk about.
Year.
Like, we like to talk about stats, but we like to talk about real life stuff.
Watching the playoff games last year, Thomas just got better in the playoffs. They leaned
That's
on
the
him.
eye test.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And
yeah.
if you watch him.
He passes the eye test.
I mean, he literally went bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, they should call him Banana Thomas. I mean,
he does kind of look like the Digital Underground guy.
Thank you.
But the next time you put your phone in my face, I'm going to chuck it across the room.
Can we just call him Humpty now?
There's got to be something better than... What was the guy's name, the Humpty Dance guy?
I can't go to my phone.
We'll have to figure out a cool nickname for him, because you're right. He does look like him.
He's got a big nose. I'm not.
He's got the schnoz.
He's got the schnoz.
Yeah.
My name is Humpty. Yeah. But no, the biggest thing
I was actually listening to that song. My kids and I were cleaning the kitchen, and we were listening to the Humpty Dance. Come at me.
The thing with Michael Thomas that it really intrigues me is just thinking.
Now I have that song stuck in my head. I really appreciate that.
I mean, he's not a young pup. I know he's only been in the league 3 years.
3 years. So what is he? 26.
He's
I think.
26.
Yeah.
Which most receivers at this time are like.
20. They cap out at 30, 32. That's 32 is really good.
But just think, 3 years in, and he's putting up wide receiver one numbers. He really is.
Yeah.
High end wide receiver.
Oh, the guy's incredible. Yeah.
So imagine.
And the cool thing about Thomas, this is what I like about Thomas the most, is you can get, and this is why this year, just as a side, I would advocate looking at later, like if you have a choice at where you pick. I know in our league we have a choice of where we can pick in the draft. If you can get later in the first round, you can get a guy, you can get Michael Thomas and Dalvin Cook. You know what I mean? You can pair Thomas up with a really good running back and have a good foundation for your team. Whereas if you go for a guy like DeAndre, you might not be able to do that. Just a quick side note on that. Thomas is a really great value, I think.
Honestly, I'm high on him. I always have been. I was high on him his rookie year.
He's a given for targets.
He's just going to get better. I mean, the only thing that could tremendously hurt his value, Drew Brees. And I don't see that happening.
In Dynasty or Keeper, but...
A severe injury to Brees is what could change the whole element.
Yeah.
But that happens with any player, though, usually.
I definitely like him a lot. I like what he brings in terms of his chemistry with...
He's on his phone, but it's okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. In terms of his chemistry with Drew Brees, and I also like...
Introduce myself. My name is Humpty. The Humpty.
Yeah, there we go. Michael Thomas. We love you, man.
Sorry, I had to show him. I know he gets mad at me, but that's how much he looks like the guy.
I want to just keep talking about Michael Thomas so I can keep listening to this song. Oh, that's a fake nose. How did I not realize until now?
It's always been
that's
fake.
A fake. He's got like the Groucho Marx thing going on.
But Michael Thomas clearly doesn't. That's his real nose.
Oh, you're ticklish. All right, I got to stop that.
Some throwback there for you guys.
We like to have fun here at the Working Class Podcast headquarters in the War Room, so bear with us. Sometimes we can get a little Goofy, pronounced with a oofy. All right, sorry. So let's move on. Number 6 expert consensus ranking is my man, Juju Smith-Schuster. I have Juju ranked at number 5. John,
shame,
you
too.
are so disrespectful to quote Stephen A. Smith. You have him at number 7. That's not okay.
Doesn't Stephen A. Smith say, "Get off the weed"? Get
disrespectful.
off the weed.
Does he? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't watch ESPN. I might as well watch
I'm
CNN.
not being disrespectful. I personally love Juju.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm being disrespectful, old man Ben throwing the ball.
I don't agree with you, dude. So listen up. 169 targets are up for grabs from Antonio Brown. 169 targets. Juju had 111 receptions, 1,426 yards, and 7 touchdowns with Antonio Brown competing for targets. And Antonio's got to be up there in the 170 range for targets. So if you're ready, hot take alert, I see Juju, who actually he had 166 targets last year, I think, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
We are looking at 169 abandoned targets from Antonio Brown. Are you ready for this? I know you're sitting down because I'm looking at you. Juju Smith-Schuster could see 200 targets this year. I firmly believe that.
I think it's going to be one of their guys. They're going to get
Who?
one. You say who? What are you, an owl?
James Washington?
This is.
Yeah, I am an owl, and my head is going 360 degrees looking for the other receiver
This
that's
is
going to catch all those
Pittsburgh.
passes.
Pittsburgh, they're infamous over the past 10 years for developing wide receivers that we don't think are good and then just jump off the page. You know that and I know that.
So I got my calculator out here on my iPhone. So I'm going to take 169, all right? Actually, I'm going to take 200 and subtract 166. 34. You don't think that Juju is going to get 34 of those 169 targets? 34 of them? I mean, come on, bro. All day long. All day. He is the guy that has chemistry with Big Ben, and you know what Ben does to those guys. Target, 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 target. And I think Juju Smith-Schuster could be the number 1 receiver this year. There's another hot take. I'm not backing off from it. I love Juju's upside this year.
You also got to remember, they may lie up. James Conner's going to see an uptick in receptions. Jalen Samuels will be involved. I hate to...
Again, I go...
Say, yeah.
34 of those 169 targets, I don't think that's irrational that Juju's going to get that much of a share. He might even get a bigger share than that. And I don't want to go too crazy here, but I definitely think he could see 200 targets. I hope he doesn't because I don't want him to get hurt, but...
200 is a lot. That's a lot.
It is.
You got to remember...
It's probably never been done.
That's called beating the crap out of somebody. I think a 170 is fair. A ceiling of 170
I think it's higher than that. And the other thing, too, is what I've heard. So they have Dante Moncrief, who's an outside receiver. They have James Washington, who's an outside receiver. The guy they picked up, I can't remember the guy they got in the draft. Outside receiver, though. Deontay Thompson, does that sound right? I could be wrong on that, and I apologize if I am, guys. But so Juju's going to stay in the slot, and it sounds like that's what they want to do with him, and that's where he excels. Sky is the limit for Smith-Schuster this year. I'm telling you guys, he's another guy you can get in the second round, and you can pair with a stud running back, and that's going to carry you to the championship. You have my seal of approval on Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think I'm going to be wrong, so follow me. Follow me to the championship, guys. Follow me to the championship. John, you can stay on the sideline with, who do you got ranked ahead of him? Keenan Allen.
Oh, yeah, Keenan Allen's so bad. One of the easiest schedules in the league.
He's not Juju.
So
You'll see. So that's my take on Juju.
here's-
I will let you, now that I have ranted, I will let you chime
I
in.
never said Juju was bad. The difference is his ranking, and that's why it's called opinion ranking.
It is,
for me.
and that's what's great about this.
Juju does have a high ceiling. I'm not down that, but my doubts are on Big Ben and the rest of that offense.
But Big Ben's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, you might want to look at last year. He crumbled a few
In terms
times.
of, his yearly
Big
totals.
Ben over the years have been great. But those games last year, he's starting to get the Phillip Rivers-itis, which is he's having those implosion games.
What was that word? Mike McCarthy word again?
I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, you got Spencer who's going to be involved. He's a rookie, but I'm not the one. I don't think it's going to him. I know they drafted him. There's two guys that I think the ball will be involved more. It's going to be Eli Rogers.
Yeah.
He's fast. He's very fast.
Is he? Yeah.
He's
Okay.
very, very fast.
I don't know. I just don't.
I think he'll be involved more, and I don't know why Dallas let this one get away. Switzer is a...
Yeah, two teams let him get away because he
Yes.
went to like San Francisco. No, he went to Oakland, and
The difference is, you hear about Switzer, it's different hearing about him than watching him. I watched Pittsburgh games last year. The guy is very, very shifty.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He reminds me of... He could be a Beasley. He's good in the slot.
But again, what's Beasley? 50 catches a year? That's about what he get. 50 to 60 catches.
But,
I mean,
no, that's the thing. It's Pittsburgh. We'll wait and see. Juju's ceiling's high. I'm not saying the ceiling's not high. I'm just saying I don't see him getting 200 targets. If he does, he'll be in the coffin.
So I'll make a bet with you. Juju and you can back off of this if you want, but you've got Keenan Allen ranked higher. Juju Smith-Schuster will finish with more fantasy points than Keenan Allen. The loser has to sing the entire Humpty dance on the podcast.
I don't remember all the words anymore.
Well, we'll just print them up.
I don't care.
All right, let's do it. That's a bet. That's a Humpty
Do I have
bet.
to wear maybe by then we'll have the video up. I can wear the snow.
Oh, we will have the video by then. August 18th,
Do I get the little
guys.
hat he wears too?
Yeah, sure.
My name is Humpty.
I like
Already
it.
practicing, okay.
I like it. So I'm going to win that bet, by the way. So this is going to be really funny to watch.
So let's clarify the bet one more time.
So Juju Smith-Schuster finishes with more fantasy points in PPR than Keenan Allen. You have to sing the Humpty dance in full Humpty garb on the podcast. If Keenan Allen finishes with more points than Juju, then I have to do it.
Okay, agreed.
All right, cool. That's going to be ridiculous. But it's going to be fun, and that's what we're all about here at the Armchair Fantasy
It's
Football
not that bad of a
Podcast.
bet. I mean, I just got to get a refresher on the song.
I'm not having you walk nude down the street. You know you're going to
Exactly.
lose the bet, so you might as well get those pipes cleared out right now. Start practicing singing.
My name is Humpty.
There you go. Number 7. We're probably taking up a lot of time here, but we're having fun, so what the heck. Number 7, expert consensus ranking, another polarizing guy, Antonio Brown. I also have him ranked at 7, but I got my own problems with him. And John, you have him ranked at 12.
Yep.
You hate that guy. Talk to me.
Not sold on Antonio Brown. Sorry, but someone that dyed
My
their
God.
mustache.
What did he like beat your dog? Did he
I've had Antonio Brown before, but sorry.
12?
The Walrus goes
I
to 12.
love it. Talk
the
about
Walrus
it.
goes to 12.
Let's hear it.
His ego is so big now that he actually takes up 3 roster spots on the Raiders.
Odell Beckham? But yes, continue.
And exactly. And here's the thing. Tell me that he's not going to get double covered.
Of course he will, but he's an elite receiver.
Yup. Was an elite receiver.
I think he still is.
Okay, but is Derek Carr an elite quarterback?
Is Ben an elite quarterback at
More
this stage of
than
his
Carr.
career? Yeah, I don't
More
disagree
than
with
Carr.
that. I think
Here's-
I'm not I have him ranked 7th, right with ECR. I think I agree with you. He's a knucklehead, just like Odell is.
I don't know what it is either.
But I don't have him ranked 4th like ECR does with Odell. I have him ranked 7th, and I think that's reasonable. In if you look at last year, he was a knucklehead last year too.
Yeah, no,
But he was elite.
No, he was still. Here's what made him elite more than anything. It wasn't the yardage guys. The receptions were there, which is actually, believe it or not, look at his numbers. This is lower than it usually is.
Yeah. Juju
got a lot. He did get
Yep.
a lot of. Here's the thing: his targets were about average. Oh, look, Antonio Brown even before Juju, 193.
I'm just saying, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm throwing that 200 mark is very hard. And
Yeah,
that was
but Brown was almost there.
that was his MVP year though. MVP.
Yeah, and Heath Miller was on the team. I mean, they had.
Yeah, no, I'm not down that, but I'm saying it is still hard.
Yeah.
So the thing I was talking about is
And Ward was on the team too, wasn't he? At the time? I don't know for sure, but anyway,
no, he retired.
he might have.
Heinz
I don't
Ward
know.
you're talking about,
I'm
right?
just
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things out there to help my narrative. That's all I'm doing.
So Antonio Brown last year, he saw the targets, he saw the receptions, which was one of his lowest, believe it or not. The biggest effect he took last year was yardage.
Yep. Juju.
He did. One it was Juju. Juju got the yardage too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was also he faced more double teams last year, and he did beat some. But the thing is, you got to start looking at is the drop off for receivers starts getting there, he turns. He'll be 31 this year. When this, I believe, a little bit after.
But you didn't really like. Sometimes it doesn't happen immediately with wide receivers like it does with running backs. It's not a cliff.
I will give him this. I've seen his Instagram. I've seen him videos and stuff. The guy is insane when it comes to workouts. He's insane.
So here's my take on Brown. If he's there in the late second round, I'm going after him. I'm not going to take him in the first round. He's not a first round pick anymore because, like you said, it's a different offense. Although I like that. I think that offense is more of a sleeper offense this year than you happen to think. I think Derek Carr is surrounded with more weapons than he's ever had. I mean, other than when he had Crabtree and Cooper. I think
maybe it was a little disrespectful ranking him 12th. I mean, that
was like you had Breeze up at two. So,
but here the reason is, I think there's going to be a regression. 15 touchdowns is not going to happen again. 15 is not going to happen.
Let me just give you my take on the situation. So Derek Carr has supported two highly productive receivers in the past, right? With Crabtree and Cooper. They didn't always do it in the same game, but he has had good years, and he has had thrown a lot of touchdowns, specifically that year. And Antonio Brown, will he be double covered? Probably, but not as much as you think, because Tyrell Williams, and I've said this before, Tyrell Williams adds more to that team than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for. Williams is a great deep threat. I think he's going to stretch the field, and I think Brown's going to be more the possession receiver, and Hunter Renfrow will be out of the slot. You know what I mean? So I look at it differently. I think Brown is just going to play a different role this year. I think he is not going to be stretching the field like he has had to in the past in Pittsburgh. And I think he's going to be more of a possession type of guy this year. And he's probably their number one. He's not a huge guy, but he's probably their number one red zone threat just because he's so savvy. I think you're going to see a different Antonio Brown this year. I don't think you're going to see him hit career numbers, and he probably won't even hit last year's numbers. But I think a 7th rank is reasonable for him because he's going to have all the opportunity in the world provided that he's healthy. He will get targeted. Chucky is an insane man. Gruden is a lunatic. He's going to make sure that he gets targeted. And I think Josh Jacobs adds a lot to that team as well. So I think their offense as a whole will be better. They don't have a tight end that's going to grab a lot of targets. So I think just based on his targets alone, he's going to have a decent floor. I think 7's reasonable. But I get what you're saying. Brown's, how long is it before he's trying to shoot 6-gun out of that town too, like he did in Pittsburgh? So I don't disagree with you.
I mean, I think his ego is going to get in the way, and that's what worries me. I'm personally not. I'm not saying I'm not going to take him if he's there.
15 touchdowns last year. That's
going to be pure regression right there.
But if he gets 10, you're taking that, right?
No, he's not a wide receiver 1 for me. That's all I'm saying. Well, I mean, I don't need him as a wide receiver 1, but
I get what you're saying. He's not a top tier, is what you're saying.
He's not a top tier to me anymore.
Yeah,
not anymore. Especially Oakland. I think Oakland hurts his value. He's had that repertoire with Big Ben. Now he's going to a quarterback. I mean, I don't know what they've done on the sideline, you know what I'm saying, on their off-season time. So I haven't heard much either.
Yep.
I usually like reports where I hear stuff. I haven't heard anything. But so that's a good thing or bad thing?
No, and who knows? And we'll see. Is Carr Ben Roethlisberger? No, but I don't think he's a gigantic step down. But we'll find out. We'll see what happens with Brown. But I agree with you. He will not be the Antonio Brown that we saw in Pittsburgh. I think he'll be really productive, but he's not going to be that top-tier guy. I don't disagree with you on that. I just think 7's a reasonable rank. So expert consensus rank at number 8 is Mike Evans. I also have Evans ranked at 8. John, you have him up at 6, so you like him a little bit better. 86 receptions last year. You'd like to see more from a number 1 alpha-type guy, but 1,524 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, 86 receptions for 1,500 yards. That's disgusting.
Yeah, what's his? Is that like 15 yards a catch?
It's almost 18
That's
yards a
insane.
catch. 18 yards a catch.
Okay, by the way, not a math scholar, just to throw that out there, obviously.
But you see why I'm a little high on him.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes, and Winston is going
to He's a monster.
And what did I say in the podcast about Winston? He's getting better.
Yep, he is.
So if he gets better...
And Bruce Arians is there.
Yep, and Arians an offensive
and
mastermind.
Deshaun Jackson's not. And Adam Humphries isn't. So...
My name is Humphries.
No, I think I think another podcast has that cornered. That market corner. We don't want to step on those guys' toes. They're the king.
Oh, good
They're
point.
the kings out there.
But
We're just mere pawns.
My point is, why do I have Evans ranked so high? The numbers say it right here. And now I see there's progression on the way. More progression.
Man. I mean, I can't sit here and say that I see it with Godwin and Howard and not say that I see it with Evans.
Yeah, and Winston. I think Winston.
And Winston, yeah.
I'm not saying this is his like elite breakout year, but I honestly think we're going to see the Winston we wanted to see. Truly, his numbers are going up. His completion percentage is going up. He's getting better.
I think
unless he did something in the offseason to off something, which I don't know of.
Oh, jeez.
I think
these days wouldn't surprise anybody.
I think
sadly.
He's mad. I mean, the Ryan Fitzpatrick, after he got benched for Fitzpatrick, it did light a fire under Winston. He played much better. I'm not saying he didn't have stellar games, but he played a lot better.
Yeah.
And if he plays a lot better, now you had a good coach Arians there, who is an offensive guru. We know this.
Yep.
Evans' numbers are only going to get better. So let's say his yards.
Do you think he plays him out of the slot sometimes, like he did with Larry? Larry's obviously, I don't think, as big as Evans, but
he's going to use him everywhere.
Yeah.
I think he lines up everywhere. They're going to think Evans is your X receiver and just stretches the field. Nope. I think he will line up everywhere.
I don't know if you have his game log there, but Evans will have those meltdown games too, so that can be a little concerning with him. But
yeah, he started okay. He opened up the season with 7 receptions, 147 yards. That was also the shootout between New Orleans and
I remember
Tampa. That was a shootout. But here's the thing: you start looking at his stats. Okay, week 2, 80 receptions. 83 receiving yards. Not bad. It's actually not bad.
No.
10 receptions.
I was gonna say, that's great. That's
excuse me.
PBR. That's 18 points right there.
Week 3 against Pittsburgh lights them up for 6 catches for 137.
Yep.
I'm not including touchdowns. He had touchdowns in all those games.
Right.
Sorry. So this is his bad game.
But that's to speak to a baseline, though.
He plays the Bears and only has 6 catches for 59 yards.
That's double digits in PPR.
Exactly.
Yep.
Week after that plays Atlanta, which that should have been an easy game, but it's a divisional game. We forget about that.
Yeah.
Divisional
they can be
better. He had 9 points in that.
Yeah, so
well,
that's
9 fantasy points. I mean,
so that's to me that's a meltdown for a guy of his stature and his ability. But I really like Mike Evans. I know there's a guy in our league that has Mike Evans and Odell and Hopkins. So he's sitting pretty at receiver. That's why you should trade Odell, Jake.
Trade one of them, Jake.
Yeah,
get a running back.
Because your running back is... he's got a running back, and it's Philip Lindsay is his number 1 running back.
Yeah, has he been cleared to play yet?
I don't know. I don't think he has.
Yeah.
Maybe he can get Royce Freeman as his RB2, and then
Rolls
he'll
Royce.
have 1 running back out of the
Rolls
2. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Rolls Royce. I like that. That's not bad. Let's see if he can play like that this year. But no, we both like Mike Evans.
He might be in the garage for the first year.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I don't have anything good. So yeah, Mike Evans is good though. So yeah,
I love Evans.
He's
He
pretty
has
good, solid ranking at number 8. You have him at 6. I can't. I can see that happening as well. So
I know. As crazy as my rankings sometimes,
some of them can be a little crazy. Your Keenan Allen ranking is
no, I don't think so. I don't
good.
think so. I really don't.
But that's why we're here. We don't want to have the same opinion. We want to talk about it and debate. That's the fun of one of the fun things of fantasy football. So ranking number 9, expert consensus is T.Y. Hilton. I have Hilton at 11, and you have him at 11 too. I mean, with T.Y., I
think he sees regression based on...
So his receptions, and you could probably... I know last year, 76 reception, 1,270 yards, 6 touchdowns.
He missed 2 games.
He missed 2. He played 14 games. But his reception count, is it an illusion on my part, or is it never really all that high?
Here's the thing.
And he's been hurt a lot, too.
No, he cannot... if you look at his numbers in past years... He's played all 16 games.
And you got to erase the year he didn't have luck, because that was
his worst year.
That was Jacoby Brissett, who can't throw beyond 10 yards.
So looking at his numbers, he's played. I mean, he hasn't missed. Last year he missed 2 games.
Yeah,
that was worse since 2014.
Yep.
The concerning part with T.Y. Hilton, it's not even his touchdowns. It's about what you expect.
He's inconsistent.
It's the inconsistency, and let's be honest, it's his receptions.
Yeah,
his targets are the highest he's ever.
His receptions aren't high. So we do PPR leagues.
You're talking 70 to 80. He honestly is a wide receiver too.
Zeke Elliott gets 70 receptions, and he's a running back.
He gets more.
Well, he does, but that's I think It wasn't 80, I don't think,
Yeah,
but
but
he was in the 70 range. So
I honestly think for where he's getting ranked, he's not. You can get a stellar running back. Honestly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Zeke gets 70 receptions, and Ty is always ranked up there, just like ECR has him in the top 10. And I don't have him that far out of it at 11, but I mean, there's guys that I have at this time ranked after Ty that I could easily reason with myself to rank those guys higher than him. And I'm talking 5 or 6 guys. Maybe even 7 guys.
He's never had double-digit touchdowns to go with.
Yeah.
So, I'm not... I know we're going down in the tier, but...
if you're picking T.Y. Hilton at his ADP, he's your number one receiver. And I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that. I know some people are, but...
I would rather go a lower-tier running back and take a chance with that because you may get the PPR receptions and still benefit more than you would with T.Y. Hilton.
Name me... How many people do you know that have won a championship with T.Y. Hilton? I can't think of any.
If they did, it was their wide receiver too.
Yeah.
It really was. That's
honestly,
what I'm saying.
they've somehow managed to finagle that in a trade or something. Yeah. So we'll move on from T.Y. We don't hate him. I think it sounds like we do.
He's just not my number one or DJ's number one.
No. And by what John means by number one, he means like our starting receiver, our number one receiver on our fantasy team. And he's also definitely not the number one receiver overall. Great player, good offense, great offense. Just a guy that I don't typically draft, though. So number 10, expert consensus rank, is A.J. Green. I have A.J. ranked at 9, and John has him at 9 as well.
Wow, we agreed.
Again, yeah, we're on a roll here. Can't really look at his season last year. 46 receptions, 694 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's in 9 games. So it is a 16-game pace of 82 receptions, 1,233 yards, and 11 touchdowns, which is really good. That's fantastic. But that's the problem. 16-game pace, and I know we've talked about it. We don't project for injury, but you got to be realistic with AJ Green.
I'm going to be honest with you. AJ Green. Now that I'm looking at his stats more, AJ Green. You say AJ Green, you think wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I look at AJ Green's stats right now, and I see what.
Yeah, I mean, Palmer.
It's not what you think when you say the name. The name AJ Green is just catchy. It
is, yeah.
He was amazing in college. He was amazing his rookie year.
And I still think he's amazing. And when you look at his per game numbers, they're still
they had issues
excellent
with the offensive line. They had issues with Marvin Lewis.
I think Boyd helped him. Honestly,
Boyd did help him last year. I mean, if he didn't get hurt, Boyd would have opened up even more.
And Boyd isn't a number one, so when AJ got hurt, he couldn't handle the double coverage.
If you double basically AJ Green's stats from last year, he was on pace for one of his better seasons.
Yeah, like I said, 82, 12, 33, and 11. That's an excellent season.
Yeah. His best year, believe it or not, it was his rookie year. 98 receptions for 178 targets for 14, 26, and 11 touchdowns.
Which is really unusual to see a rookie excel that. Didn't he came out with Julio, didn't he? I believe they were drafted the same year. Same year.
But then you look at the stats. He's only had double-digit touchdowns for receiving twice.
But look at the games played. How many times has he played 16 games?
He has only been healthy 2 full seasons in the last 4 years.
So that's the thing. So we don't project injuries. But when I'm ranking guys, and they're so close together in terms of talent and opportunity and the situation that they're in, you have to separate them somehow. And that's how AJ, for me, ends up where he does at 9, is because Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Odell, Juju, Michael Thomas, Julio, Devontae, DeAndre. What's the thing that separates those guys from AJ? They're on the field a whole heck of a lot more than he is. Anything else on Green?
No, he's still talented.
I think I accidentally called Dalton Palmer. I'm sorry to insult Carson Palmer.
It's a mix of Andy Dalton and Chris Palmer. I mean, it's Carson Palmer. Sorry. You got me
Chris Palmer.
Who was it?
Arnold Palmer.
Man. You know who your favorite quarterback was last year after Dalton went down? Sheriff Driscoll.
Oh, Sheriff Driscoll. Yep. I don't know why I came up with that.
There's a snake in my boot.
My son is a big fan of the Bengals, and I don't know, when I hear Jeff Driscoll, I just hear like an old West sheriff, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I just call him Sheriff Driscoll.
Yeah, you try drinking something and you're watching the game. That next you know you get a text that says Sheriff Driscoll. Soda goes everywhere out of my mouth. I'm laughing so hard.
Sheriff Driscoll.
Touchdown for Sheriff Driscoll.
You better catch that ball from Sheriff Driscoll.
A 60-yard touchdown.
Oh, sadly, I don't think I'll be able to have that kind of fun with Sheriff Driscoll.
I don't know
because he's not going to be on the field. Is he even on the team anymore?
I don't even know.
One of the worst quarterbacks in the history of the game. And I'm talking at the high school level, the Pop Warner level. Like,
he was pretty bad.
Not good. Not good.
XFL career, Bob?
Hell of a gunslinger, though. Can I say that word? I don't know.
So, number 12?
Moving on. you got me down the Sheriff Driscoll rabbit hole,
I'm sorry.
But no, we are actually at number 11.
Oh, okay.
Where Keenan Allen is reasonably ranked.
Yeah.
I also have him reasonably ranked at number 10.
Because look, he moved up in this one.
You want him to marry your daughter, apparently. You have him ranked at number 4.
Number 4.
So, Keenan Allen last year, 97 receptions, which is excellent. 1,196 yards. 6 touchdowns. That's what scares me about Keenan Allen. He doesn't get the touchdown count.
Well, maybe I'm too high on him.
Sell me.
Sell you? I think here's the thing with Keenan Allen. Yeah, I know Mike Williams going to be involved. I get that. Hunter Henry's going to be involved.
He's back. Yep.
But the
Melvin
last
Gordon
2
gets his
years,
share.
the last 2 years, and this is the only thing I hate about Keenan Allen. He starts off very slow. He does. He did both seasons. He starts off very slow. And you know what I say about that, though? Owners that want him, that don't have him, your chances to trade for him by week 2 or 3 when he's not getting anything.
Yeah.
Because that's when he's going to pop off. It's about week 4. And I mean, he will pop off.
Keenan Allen won me a championship.
Dude, here's the guy.
Because it was the year
Keenan
after.
Allen, I'm almost done with him. I'm like, dude, just hold on to him. Trust me.
I don't know how hard you were selling him, but I mean, we were all in the same boat on Keenan Allen. He had 2 years where he had season-ending injuries, and his stock was so low. And I got him in like the 5th or the 6th round because nobody wanted to touch him because he was so quote-unquote brittle. And the dude won me a champion, or at least contributed to winning me a championship. He was a big contributor. So I love Keenan Allen's got a soft spot in my heart. I think 4 is too high. I think 11, 10 is where he should be ranked. Got a good baseline on receptions. He's going to be the number 1 target on that team. But Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, those guys are going to eat up a lot of those red zone targets. And Gordon's going to get his share of touchdowns.
Maybe I got him ranked a little too high, but here's the thing why I rank him high, though, too. That offense does not stink.
Oh, the lyrics. The lyrics for the Humpty Dance. I found them. How does it feel, huh? To have a phone shoved in your face.
The good thing with Keenan Allen, though, he's on a high-powered offense. And people are like, Chargers are not the high-powered. They weren't the worst either. That's the thing. They were top 5 offense last year. So here's the thing. What comes with the top 5
Is this distracting?
No. You get more opportunities.
Well done, John.
So he's going to score. Obviously, I think he has more scoring chances just like he did before. And I guess, I get Hunter Henry's back. But here's the thing. Phillip Rivers still had a solid season. So here's the thing. He's just getting back into the groove after a major injury 2 years ago. I didn't think he was going to do that well. But I honestly think he's actually going to beat his numbers from last year and the year before. That's how I feel.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
He's my personal take. You know when you have somebody you feel like a little stronger on? He's my personal take. Him and Mike Evans especially.
Yeah.
So who has Mike Evans in our league?
Jake has him.
He has Mike Evans too?
Yeah, he has Evans, Odell, and Hopkins, which is why he should trade Odell for Joe Mixon. Not straight up. You don't have to do it straight up.
Maybe I should give him David Johnson.
I've only won championships 5 years straight, though, John. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. You'll learn.
I didn't realize.
You'll learn, Jake.
I didn't realize that he had that many receivers.
Yeah,
he made some trades,
and then he's got Philip Lindsay. It's all about roster construction, people. That's what it's all about.
If I knew Lindsay's condition, I wouldn't be against it. But he also got Royce Freeman.
Yeah.
So it does concern me.
We're getting a little off the rails here. So now we are at number 12. Expert consensus rank has Amari Cooper at number 12. I like Amari Cooper. I do not have him ranked that high. I have him at lucky number 13. John, you have him at 21. Yep. Hot Take Royce is at it again. Yep. Well,
I'm
speechless.
There's some things I have eye open for you on some things that you didn't see before.
So let me just say, though, 75 receptions, 1,004 yards, 7 touchdowns. I'm not sure exactly what week he ended up in Dallas, but the second he did, he had a rocket strapped to his behind, and he got hyper-targeted. I don't think that's going to change this year. And their schedule isn't that bad, actually, for once. Dallas has a fairly decent schedule. So I think those numbers are going to increase based on he's not going to be on Oakland for half the season, and they love him there. He is a foundation of their offense along with Zeke.
The only thing that concerns me is that he is so – what's the word I want to use? He's more concerned about his contract. He keeps bringing up his contract.
You know what, man? It's 2019, bro.
No, I get that, but here's the thing.
If I could make $10 million more, I'd do it.
But here's the thing. You look at his stats after that horrible, horrendous year of 2017, which you can't put all the blame on him, but he was part of the blame, though. He dropped so many passes.
Yep.
Here's the thing.
So maybe he's got a little Odell in him.
A little bit, but here's the thing. Dallas, Odell got a huge contract, though, like right off the bat.
And I think Cooper deserves one.
But I think
maybe.
Dallas is being skeptical about it based on this reason.
So actually, if you look it up, Cooper's contract, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, Cooper's contract is higher up the priority list than Elliott's, which I think is ridiculous, but they do like him a lot.
But okay, so now if you start looking at Amari Cooper's numbers, best year was 80 receptions. So
yeah, but
you think that's worth 12?
But he has 7 touchdowns, and you might as well say he missed half the year. Honestly, like if you look at that putrid Oakland offense, in Carr, one of the concerns with Carr, and this I'll go back to Antonio on this, he seems to always go to his second option because I don't know if he's good enough to zip it in there to his first option if they're double covered, which is great. I mean, don't throw in the coverage, but and then Dak is a dilly gaff guy. He just doesn't care, man. He's going to try to target his better players. And I do like Cooper a lot. I don't have him ranked as high as ECR does, but
who do I have ranked?
You could do worse.
Who do I have ranked in that spot?
At 12,
yeah,
you actually have Antonio Brown.
So yeah,
I have Stephon Diggs, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about Diggs.
Well, another topic I can bring up.
Unfortunately, on the next show because I think he gets disrespected. But
Thielen, we're not even talking about Thielen. Who'll be talked on the next show though too. He gets disrespected.
Yeah, you had him at 10.
Yeah.
So let's talk, and we'll
I'm going to bring up.
We'll move on from Cooper.
Here's why I'm going to bring up Thielen. Cooper best season was 83 receptions. Everything else was 60. I'm not going to bring up the 48 one.
But you have to look at ceiling, right? So who's got the higher ceiling in their current situation? Because you're looking at a career of Amari Cooper where he didn't have good chemistry with Carr. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
And
he did, but he didn't.
I don't think he did. And the numbers don't really illustrate that he did.
I think what killed him, he mentally killed himself with his hands. He really did.
It's a possibility.
He kept dropping it.
He owns part of it. But that was then and this is now. I was
an Amari Cooper owner. Oh, touchdown.
I think you're talking with your heart. Touchdown. I think your heartstrings are getting tugged at.
I could be, but, it's sorry.
I had Cooper too, man.
I rank Thielen higher, and the reason why I say that is you have a ceiling of 80 receptions. Or even his floor is, I'm not going to count floor. Let's say his floor is, his ceiling.
But what are his
receptions.
Touchdowns?
Like Thielen? He had 9 last year. Remember,
9. That's probably the highest he's going to get.
But remember, he didn't officially start starting until 2017.
I get it.
He blew up 2017. Why? Because he became an official starter. 2018 official starter. You look at the other years. Okay, 2016 he was playing as a third wide receiver.
But if you look at the numbers, Diggs, I love Diggs. Everybody knows this at this point. Diggs finishes stronger than Thielen does. And every year they have a different OC, it seems like. Every year they have a different quarterback, it seems like. And don't say that. We can't say that nickname. But like you look at Thielen, he does well with quarterbacks that aren't very good or are still getting acclimated to the system. And once they get acclimated and more comfortable, you see the paradigm shift over to Stephon Diggs. So that's why I rank Cooper higher. And maybe I should rank him higher than Diggs, but I have him ranked higher than... Actually, I do have him ranked high. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. I have him one spot lower than Diggs. But I have him ranked higher than Thielen because he's not competing with Stephon Diggs. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no Stephon Diggs. When he looks across the field, he sees Michael Gallup, who's still learning his craft, and he's not even close.
I think Michael Gallup's going to take a huge jump this year.
He could,
really
but
do.
Cobb's there. These guys are not competing realistic. Jason Witten's 8,000 years old. Amari Cooper, and it's kind of like when you look at Antonio, or when you look at Evans, they're just head and shoulders above everybody else.
But here's another reason why I think I'm down on Cooper compared to last year. Teams did not respect him last year because why? They laughed at him from Oakland. They really did.
And then what happened?
He burned them.
He went off multiple times.
Do you think they're going to disrespect him again after learning the lesson? I don't.
No, but I think talent is talent and opportunity. What do we look at? We look at talent and opportunity all the time, right? Talent and opportunity. He's got the talent, he's got the opportunity, and he's got a lighter schedule this year. So I think he'll have a better year this year, but again, there's character stuff there.
Yeah.
So his upside is limited.
I mean, that's why we have opinions. I mean,
Yep.
maybe I bashed him really bad.
Well, you know what? He ticked you off, man. And I have guys like that. I've had guys in the past.
I'm not against Amari.
You know my ban list is a mile long. You know what I mean? I've banned so many. I've 86 so many guys from my fantasy team. And, so I get it. I get what you're saying.
Peyton Hillis.
Oh, God. Peyton Hillis. Gary Barnage. But you remember Gary Barnage?
Oh, I remember Barnage.
So, those are both Cleveland Browns. But, no, I've had T.Y. Hilton's on my ban list. You know what I mean? I just won't have the guy. So, I like Cooper. You like him, too, I think. I just don't think you like him as much.
No, I mean, I got my man crushes. You know him so far. So.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We have, like I said, guys, you guys are entitled. You guys, your opinion, you see something that stands out to you. To me, I'm not sold on Amari Cooper. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
I know DJ likes Amari Cooper. I'm not saying I hate him. I'm not saying I wouldn't draft him. I would draft him.
Right.
I just don't want to draft him too early. He's not part of my plan in the early. You know what I'm saying? If he's sitting there as a second wide receiver for me, yeah, possibly.
Yep.
Won't be my number one.
No, I don't disagree with you on that necessarily, but like you said, we all have different opinions, and that's what makes this fun.
He'll go off for 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns this year.
I just want Juju to have a better season than Keenan Allen. That's going to be fun.
That will be fun.
So that caps off the top 12. Obviously, we do the top 24, and we can hardly fit the top 12 into one show. Top 24 would be a little bit too girthy. So on the next episode, we're going to go into from 13 to 24. So that'll be exciting, and that'll actually be posted on Friday, correct?
I believe so.
So we're going Monday, Fridays moving forward, so that should be a little bit easier for you guys to find and digest our product. That's pretty much it. So once again, thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast with John and I, the Working Class Podcast. Don't forget to do the Humpty Dance. John, do you have any parting words?
I love this song. I'm sorry, I'm listening. Okay, till next time, guys.
Are you ready to get out of here, John?
Yep.
All right. This has been really fun. Very fun podcast. John and I are going to go do the Humpty Dance. And we'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy.
See you soon, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.